Okay, good morning and welcome everyone, and thanks for joining and taking the time for this morning's webinar on SolarWinds best practices out of the box versus custom alerts with Prospero Networks. I'd like to start this webinar by introducing myself. My name is Mick Poe. I'll be your host for this morning's session. I'm delighted to be joined by our technical director, Mark Roberts. Good morning, Mark, and thanks for taking the time.
Good morning, Mick. Good morning, everyone else. Thanks for joining.
Pleasure to have you. Okay, wonderful. So, some of you are new to Prosperon, and we'll be taking the time to record this session and uploading it to our YouTube channel, where you can find all our previous sessions. So don't worry if you missed the session, and you are able to share it with colleagues. If you are viewing on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button to help us reach out to more people around the world. You can also connect to us via our LinkedIn and Twitter pages for more regular updates, tips, and tricks. Okay, so introductions over. We're going to take a look at the agenda for today. I'll be giving everyone a quick introduction to Prosperon. We'll be looking at the importance of alerting, how to improve your SolarWinds alerts, and taking a look through some live demonstrations of the best practices and out-of-the-box alerting versus custom alerts. So this session is going to be an interactive one, so we will be running a few polls, and please use the chat box in the GoToWebinar for any questions that you may have throughout today's session.
Yeah, just on that, Mick, please use the questions. We obviously have some things that we want to demonstrate and get across today, but what we would really like is if you have issues in your alerting that we can kind of discuss and give you guidance. And this is very much around what comes out of the box and how to improve it. So please ask away, and so we can get to those and help you guys out.
Wonderful. Okay, so who are Prospero Networks? Prosperon are a value-added partner providing services to SolarWinds to help support their customers. We've been working with them for over 16 years, and we help with all aspects of their solution set, from licensing, maintenance renewals, training, health checks, and professional services, working to ensure that the solutions are working well for their customers and your organization. We've been the first partner to work alongside NetBrain in the UK. This solution works well alongside SolarWinds to help provide a dynamic map and assist with troubleshooting and automation of a network and its operations. As a company, we've delivered over 1,500 professional services days last year and resolved over 1,000 support tickets in-house. We have a team of engineers all completing their SolarWinds SCP certifications to assist customers with their deployments and help with even some sensitive engagements and instances. We're proud to have been awarded the Technical Excellence Award by SolarWinds for the delivery of our projects, and we're the only partner globally to have been to have an in-house THWAC MVP. So Mark is our resident THWAC MVP, and he plays a key role in the community.
I've even got a badge and everything, Mick.
Wow, nice. Okay, so professional services is one key area of our business that we're going to look at today. It's many of our customers have worked with us on their own deployments with their existing configurations or plans for re-implementation of SolarWinds. And some of you will know our work with the high-level or low-level design, the configuration elements, the implementation, testing, and readiness of a platform for an organization. Customization will play a key role for many of our customers, also assisting with alerting, dashboards, and reporting. We have an extensive use of the API and help customers integrate the solution with other tools and technologies that they may have within their technology stack. We've recently launched our managed service offerings to help customers take away some of the burden that SolarWinds can put on an organization. So we provide a SolarWinds administrator upgrade or maintenance package to help customers with their environments. As you know, training will always play a major role for an organization throughout their journey. So we help empower teams by sharing knowledge and ensure that you have the skills to succeed. We run a number of training courses throughout the year and can deliver customized training for our clients if required. We will provide first and second line support to our customers, and we like to do complete health checks to provide some best practice advice, review deployments, and recommend where they can optimize and enhance their environments. Okay, so on that note, let's move on to the first poll of today. And the first question that we have is, do you feel that you are in control of the alerts generated by your SolarWinds platform? So one of the answers is we've turned off most of the alert definitions. We're having too many alerts that come out of SolarWinds, and
yeah, that's we'll see. But I have a hedge bet of what the
hedge bet on
answers,
that one.
like the
Okay.
likely one's going to be. Yeah, so please vote. It's always good for us to kind of see what the pain points and how many of you have got good control, and obviously align that to what we want to demonstrate in these sessions, and also helps us steer what we do in future. I say we do these webinars to kind of share our knowledge and experience to help people put better installations together, and certainly alerting is a consistent theme of ours because of the importance of it in any monitoring solution. So what have we got coming in at the moment, Mick?
At the moment, it seems that there's too many alerts that are coming out of Orion.
Hold on, this is my shocked surprise face. Can you see it? Yeah.
So too many alerts are focused. So many customers are focused on what they want to see as important alerts, which is good to see. We have 8% sitting around they've tuned already, and they are getting some actionable alerts. And there's a small percentage that have just turned off everything.
Yeah. And we do see that the engagements that we have, the installations that I see, and I know the feedback when we have our internal discussions on with the engineers here, we do see a lot of customers that literally just turn a load of the alerts off because they're just overwhelmed, and rather than going through the process of making it work for them and getting the value and the benefit out, they're just turning it off, and that's a kind of big sledgehammer approach. So absolutely, this is what today is about, to hopefully get all of the attendees and people that see this to take control, to have the knowledge and capability to go forward with that. So, okay. So I think it's my turn to speak, is it?
Absolutely. Yeah. We're on to the importance of alerting.
Yeah, this is, as I've just indicated, one of the things that any monitoring solution such as Orion is providing is going out into your IT infrastructure, however you've got it, and collecting data on it. That data is here to inform you of when there are problems with it, when it's down, when it's performing badly, when it's utilized, so you can go and fix it. So that whole remediation thing is very much about what the alerting is. It's identification of issues, giving you the knowledge and understanding about what, where, and how, so that mean time to resolution is as small and as short as it can be. And you'll see in here, we'll talk about automation at various points as well. There is absolutely that capability of automating, whether it's automating improvements or automating to things like ticketing platforms by our integration. One of the things, obviously, that comes from that poll with kind of 41% of people saying there's too many alerts coming out of the monitoring platform Orion, is you cannot start looking at doing integration to too many of those alerts because you're just going to be overwhelmed. Your service desk manager is going to come to you with an angry looking face going, I've just received X amount of alerts and my team are just dealing with this, closing out cases because these seem to be false positives. So we want to make sure that when we do that integration, we have control of the alerting generation. And this is the theme, yeah. The winner of the poll, too many alerts are being generated. Well, out of the box, yeah, today's absolute theme on our webinar is it will over alert. The starting point that SolarWinds provide you, and it is a fantastic starting point. They're giving you a lot of guidance on the type of alerting you probably should be looking at doing, but they cannot have the tightness of settings that prevent false positives coming out, that you don't get one alert for an incident, you get multiple alerts because your dependency structure hasn't been defined, your group definitions. Those are going to be challenges that are going to cause you to receive too many alerts for you to process. And I know from working with customers, and certainly if you see one of our previous webinars, I was highlighting that what I often see is that a customer will have a mailbox where all the alerts go to, and it will have hundreds, if not thousands, of unread messages in there. Because when you're getting that kind of volume, you're never going to be able to keep on top of it. And this is when you start losing the visibility. And so in the bottom left, that missing those critical alerts, yeah, that system that's gone down, that router that's now got performance issues, and everyone at that remote office is now having poor problems, it's going to get missed. You don't want that. You can't have that. You're kind of handicapping your monitoring solutions capabilities and benefits. What we also want to do is have a look at alert management. From an Orion administrator point of view, you don't want to be managing hundreds and hundreds of individual alerts. It's going to be painful to manage. And so we want to kind of take an ethos of as few alert definitions as possible, where the rules are there in a way which achieve the same function. They provide the same output, but they're giving you reduced volume. Personally, I've worked with customers that have had hundreds and hundreds, I mean, literally 500-600 individual alerts that we've spent some time with, and we've been able to get down to 30 or 40 alert definitions in the end. But we're still achieving the same output in terms of coverage, but the quality is also much, much higher. And again, automation. We would like and we advocate getting your alert into your ticketing platform as quickly as possible. Whether that's the fact that you're sending this to a service desk in some manner and they're processing, doing the triage and then manually creating the incident, or indeed the really holy grail of where we want our customers to get to is that their alerting is so well defined that they can trust it and they can send alerts automatically to their ticketing platform. So there's zero human touch there. So having said all of that background, how do we move forward efficiently and effectively? So first thing to highlight, and any customers on here I've spoken to know my viewpoint on this. Email is not the only notification method. On the screen, I've got an example of what we actually do internally. We have ours linked to Teams. So if you're using Teams, Slack, any instant messaging platform, you can integrate and automatically send a notification here. And you can see that we've got communication immediately taking place. The alert comes in and we start discussing it. The other thing that I've kind of put in here is get a common structure. So whether you are using, I've done email here because it's still prevalent. I still know I'm going to be working hard to get people to use other things than email. But however you're outputting, do so in a manner which you can really get information across efficiently. So you can see in the bottom middle, that is the default alert down notification out of Orion. And you can see it literally just says this device is down, and here's a link to go and have a look at it in more detail. Whereas what we've got on the right is an HTML formatted email. And so we've got color. Yeah, we can identify immediately this is a red critical issue. We've enriched it with additional information so we can see its location, what device it is, who owns it, maybe things like other common CI data sets. So when you receive that, hopefully you're immediately able to go and action it. So certainly from all of this, as I say, that capability of getting enrichment, getting common standards where when people see it, they can immediately consume it efficiently is a big step forward in its own. From an out-of-the-box alerting, I'm going to be concentrating, so I'm going to do this very quickly because I want to get onto the online demo and really show you in the interface where and how you can change these things. But one of the big ones and one of the quick wins that you can put in place is changing a lot of the kind of utilization alerts. So whether it's CPU, you can see on the screen, we've got a screenshot here for transmit percent utilization on an interface. Change those from kind of hard numbers. You can see the default one here for transmit utilization is 75%. Well, that's it. Every single alert that, every single interface that you've got populated, of which you may have thousands and tens of thousands for some customers, if it goes over 75% for one poll, out of the box, it's going to alert. You don't want that. You want to have control over that. So we'll have a look at some techniques about how we can change this structure, this logic definition, so we reduce the inclusion. And also just the fundamental principle of changing to threshold-based triggers. So what I mean by that is each of those individual interfaces can have different numbers associated to them. Yeah, for this, it could be 75 as a global value, but you may have one where it's 85. You may have one where it's 65, whatever. Changing it so that when it goes into a critical condition is a big win. Also, when you're creating your alerts, do so with a good naming convention. And our typical approach is either the company name or that we go with dev or prod. Yep. So we may be indicating that we're creating alerts for the development platform and development function, but clearly they're going to be handled in different ways. And we certainly don't want people, especially if they're on call, getting woken up and sent alerts, and then once they kind of get up, get connected, start doing some work, find out it's a P3 device that's a dev platform environment. That's not something that they're going to need to get out of bed and go and fix. So putting a naming structure in place is going to give you, again, management control to improve your capabilities. Test. Well, obviously. So when you're creating your alerting definitions, you're going to go through a process of baselining. You're going to go through a process of, have I got my logic right? So we always advocate the use of the log to Orion event log as one of the actions. Do it on all of your alerts anyway. But when you're in the testing phase, use it. Send an email to yourself, whoever's administrating and monitoring it, just to see how you get on before you then turn it on and start sending it to the distribution group or to the Teams channel, or indeed doing the integration. Once you've done that, you can validate and make sure that it's going well. And the last point at the bottom, the biggest thing on alerting, and the one that we discuss a lot with customers when we're working through what they want to be alerted on, actually, is this a report? The key concept here is if you're going to receive a notification via whatever means from an Orion alert, if you're not going to do something about it, if you're not going to go and try and fix it, if you're not going to go and do an investigation on it in any way, it's probably not an alert. It's probably more of a report. So identify the difference between those. I've got a couple of examples in the demo that will get this kind of message across. You can have a daily, weekly report coming out of Orion that will give you everything and a lot more probably than an alert can. So think about the situations and circumstances that you actually need to be actively told about an issue that exists. Okay, so let's go and have a look and a play around the platforms. I knew that would happen, so let's just make sure I'm still logged in. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to be using a mixture of one of our demo environments and the online demo. So for anybody that's not aware, this address in the top right, top left, is the online public demo of SolarWinds. So you can go on and have a look. You can see all of the platform and all of the kind of information and capabilities and have a look and play. So I'm going to use this today because from my point of view, immediately, when we look at the active alert list, one of the things to highlight here is that there are nearly 1,400 active alerts in play. This is not uncommon. We see this an awful lot when we do health checks. One of the first things the engineers get taught, go and have a look at this page, because you will immediately know how involved and how engaged the customer is with their Orion platform. Because if they're not processing alerts and they're not keeping this a low number, then you have a steer as to the kind of scenario on that deployment. So no one is ever going to maintain and manage nearly 1,400 active alerts. And certainly one of the easiest things you can do when you have a look at your platform is keep it on the all filter and then change by active time. And if you see anything like this, and I mean, this is obviously an extreme example, if no one has gone and fixed VM with bad tools in 3 years, or dealt with the hardware health component, yep, so we've got a sensor that's in a warning condition. If nobody's gone and fixed that in 3 years, there's a fair chance that the business really doesn't care. So in that situation, identify whether you need that alert. Here, for example, we've got lots and lots of alert me when a rogue IP address appears on the network. Again, nobody's clearing this down, nobody's acknowledging it. And so determine whether you need that alert. Yeah, if you don't, we'll have a look at the capabilities of disabling it. So when so you're looking in this list, there's an awful lot we can learn and you can observe just from this. We've got a lot of alerts defined. Yeah, that's all good. We've got a good coverage across the modules that you have in place for Orion. You have alerting, but as I say, there are scenarios here where you can look at these alerts and go, actually, at this point in time, or even indeed ever, I don't need to be told about it. So review it and identify. So what I'm going to do now is just hop across to the Manage Alerts area. And what we have here, so if I do an enabled, you can see that out of the 359 alerts that we've got defined, now the majority of those are out of the box. So if I just change to this, you'll see 244 of these alerts are out of the box. This is what you get immediately after you install Orion. And so if we look at these, you'll see we've got lots of different entries. And actually you can see all of them for us are disabled. None of the out-of-the-box alerts that we run in our platform are enabled. The reason for that is because we want to change them. We want to adapt them. We want to make them fit for purpose. Now, that's not to say that many of the out-of-the-box alerts aren't correct. It's just that we want to go in there and potentially tweak it. And we also want to create that naming definition. So if I go across to enabled here, you will see in our platform that we have our company name prefix. So I now know if ever I do a search for Prosperon or come in here, that these are the ones that are actively being used, and these are the ones that we want to have in play because of that structure. As I said before, prod and dev are also suitable entries to use as a prefix here. Now, if I just go back to the no grouping, as I say, there are a lot here. As out of the box with the modules that we've got installed, 244. I know this is probably going to be a bit gaspy, but review them all. Have a look. So what I typically will do is change to the object type. And you can see here that if we come down, that we've got alerting functionality. So actually, let me just drop across to the online demo. This is going to be a much better visual, actually. So here, if I show you here, if you're not using AWS, turn these off. Yeah. If you've got no AWS monitoring, there is no point having these enabled. Come in, disable them. Because what's happening is every minute, this query for this alert is being run against the database. It's never going to get a result because you're not doing any AWS monitoring. So it's just wasting processing cycles. It's also wasting your management. Yeah, you don't need to see this in your enabled list. Same for all of these other things, like all the F5s. If you don't have F5 devices, come in, disable them. So again, as a quick cleanup process, reviewing the alerts that are there, identifying that the ones that you want to see, the capabilities and functions of Orion that you're utilizing, the infrastructure that you have, you can very quickly come in and make some updates. Okay, so let's go and have a look at a sample alert. So what I'm going to do here is just go and show you the out-of-the-box high CPU alert. Now, the first thing to highlight here is the alerts that come out of the box does not include anything to alert you on network devices being high, because this high CPU utilization is focused towards servers. So immediately you've got a bit of a hole in your alerting capability, so you will want to be able to fill that. But let me go and show you this. Now, notice that this is an out of the box. So if I click edit, we've got this bar at the top, and it's telling we cannot make any changes to the trigger conditions. We can change the actions that are here, but I can't come in here and change the description, rename it. I can enable it, but the others I can't. So immediately there's a reason to create that duplicate of this and then adjust it to your needs, because you want to be able to maybe adjust some of these values. And certainly you're going to want to look at reviewing the trigger conditions, the actual situation and scenario that is going to fire out an alert when it is observed in the platform. Okay, so what do we have here in terms of the trigger condition? I'm not going to go through all of the settings on here. So the purpose of this session is to kind of give you a steer on the thought processes and actions that you can do to improve the out-of-the-box alerts. And immediately here, the CPU load is greater than 80. Well, it's 80%. I can infer that. I understand that. But 80, is that relevant across all of your devices, across all of your servers? Well, no. Even our own environment, we have servers that are going to run at 85%. Because we know that it's just doing continual functioning, and it's quite happily sits there at 85% on the resources that we've allocated in our VM estate. So immediately that's going to generate alerts. It's not valid. We're happy for that server to run at that consumption levels because that's how we built it to work. So this is too constraining. We've got a hard value number across all of our servers. We've got a filter here that is server. So that for me is not relevant. If we go across to the reset action, thank you, says reset when it's no longer true. So what's going to happen in this situation, because of the settings that we've got in the trigger condition, where it says over 80, we haven't got a time delay on it. This box in the left here, condition must exist for more than X number of minutes. What happens is, and I'm taking this from one of our blog posts previously, by the way, is that will generate an alert here. So this utilization, it could be CPU, it could be memory, traffic, it doesn't matter. But for the out of the box high CPU alert that we've just reviewed, it's going to generate an alert there. It's going to go back below the number. In the default, it's 80%, so the red line would be down here. It's then going to reset, and then maybe half an hour later, it's going to trigger again, it's going to reset, it's going to trigger again. So in the space of, I don't know, an hour, hour and a half, we are going to have generated 5 alerts for one condition. That's not what you want to do. You can see here we've got this red X. That is probably the point that you want to be alerted on, when it's under sustained high load. At that point, you know that it needs investigating. You know that it's going to be service affecting. Performance of that application and that server is going to affect the users consuming the services. And also, the reset. I don't want it to reset when it just goes to 79%, or in this example, 89%. If it goes back up again on the next cycle, that's going to generate another alert. I don't want that. So my alert definition, I'm going to be changing to cater for that. So let's go and have a look at another example. And actually what I'm going to use here is an example of one focused towards network devices, in this case Cisco. If I edit this one now, you can see I've got a nice description, nice and clear. I've changed the criticality, and in the trigger condition, what we've got now is a change of structure. So you can see that we've got a delay on this first and foremost. So that's going to deal with the fact that don't immediately fire this trigger once it goes over critical threshold. And that is the thing. The critical value has been reached for this metric. The CPU has gone over critical threshold. It is equal to yes. And we've got some other values here that are enhancing and reducing, again, the false positives. Make sure the device is just not down and we're getting historic data come back. That I'm only interested in Cisco devices. So you may be looking at this and going, well, how do I control this critical value? Well, the first one is that in the settings, all settings, and then Orion general thresholds, you can see that we can adjust our global value. Our global value here is set to 90% for critical and 80% for warning. So that immediately means that all of the devices are now going to be set to 90%. Well, previously I just mentioned that probably 90 is not consistent across every single device, or 80 or whatever the number you put in. So what we have the ability to do in Orion is put what we refer to as object level thresholds in. Here we can see that we've got 85 and 95% for an individual device, for my dev platform, whatever. So now this device is going to override the threshold that's set globally and specify 85 and 95. This is performed under the managed nodes area. You can select one device, you can select 50 devices, 500 devices, and change all of those values. That then gives you that granularity of control over when this is going to trigger. On the reset, again, to deal with this scenario where I want it to be well below threshold, back to operating levels, and I want it to be like that for a consistent period before it automatically resets, I've created a special condition. I'm not using the just automatically when it's not the trigger, and now I've got it's not warning or critical. Yeah, and I've extended the timer to make sure that this is going to last for a longer period. So just that. Now this is an example actually on CPU, but it's exactly the same for all of the other utilization metrics that you want. If you haven't got object level function, use a custom property. I'll show you one of those examples later if we have time. And then under the trigger actions, what we've got here is we've got an enhancement. So we are running a script which is logging onto the device that's got this CPU issue. We're running a command because we have the NCM module, the configuration manager module. And so we're running that command. You can see that it's going to insert the results of that command, the returned window, into the notes variable. And then what we have here is the message. And you can see I've got my styled HTML email, and now that's going to send out an email notification similar to this. This one's for volumes, but you can see in terms of the template and what I showed you on the previous slides, that this is now going to be much more informative. I'm going to, for example, rather than having volume here, I'd have the output of that command. So I get to see this. So this would be the results of that output, and it would be embedded in that HTML email. So immediately I can have a look and I can go, okay, well, this particular process is consuming the function. Maybe it's on a Cisco ASA, it's the fact that it's the VPN tunnel service or something along those lines. Okay. So I'm going to go across to another alert now. That was, I've started on that one because, again, that is one of the big ones that can give you a lot of benefit, those utilization alert types. We're now going to have a look at another common one for any of you that have SAM, the Server and Application Monitor module. This can cause problems. So where we are looking at our SAM out of the box, there are two entries for application. Yeah, the template level. Alert me when an application goes down, and alert me when an application goes into a warning or critical. There is exactly the same at the component level. Alert me when a component goes down, alert me when a component goes into warning or critical. Well, again, decide what's right for you, but for me, warning is not something that I'm going to generate alert on. It's a warning, yeah, we may need to go and have a look at it, but does somebody need to action it at that point? Again, for my live interactions with the dashboards, that might be my observation point. My alerting may be based on the critical status. Also, if one of your components goes down, so a component in SAM is an individual service or a performance counter or a script. If that goes down, immediately the component will mark us down, but also the application will show us down. So in that circumstance, I'm going to receive two alerts because the out-of-the-box enabled functionality has both of them enabled. So what we typically suggest is that you go for application component is critical. Yeah, configure that. You can also see here, we've got an example of a specific entry. So if I just edit this very quickly and show you the condition, we're being very specific on this. We're saying, okay, this component in a particular status. So I'm only interested in a particular server clock drift, maybe because my reset action is going to run an automated script, which is going to do a resync of the clock on one of those servers that's affected. So now I've got more a specific targeted alerting functionality. I'm looking for a specific metric that I know I can safely automate resolution for. I've got alerting wrapped around it to notify me that this has taken place. So again, I can get someone to review. So in SAM in particular, we are advocates of creating specific alerts for specific conditions, not just for automation, but for output direction. Maybe somebody specifically needs to know about it, the application owner, for example, your Exchange admin or SQL Server administrator is a candidate there. And then at the application level, we would do application is down, because the component, if it goes down, will change the application layer to down. So we achieve the same thing. And let's do it at the application layer. And what we do in here, in the notification, is to list out all of the status of all of the services in one list. So within all of this, there is a variable which is going to list the entire status of all of the monitors within there. So I can see what's down, I can see what's up. I've got full visibility of what the potential impact of that outage of that application could be. So again, very easy, very quick things that you can implement just by turning off and disabling some, changing the filter on the component monitor to take off warning, only leave critical, and just user application is down. Okay. So I'm just
Mark,
going
we've
to...
had a few questions come in.
Yeah, go
Maybe
for
one
it.
tackle one. Yeah, one's come from Stuart. A generic query we have is how best to monitor alert on hardware health for kit that isn't recognized by SolarWinds, for example, Arubas or Fortinets.
Okay, so in that circumstance, the first thing is you're probably collecting custom data. That may be being performed by SAM, it may be as a universal device poll or a custom SMP poll. And so depending on what's happening, the fundamental still remains. Different areas have different functions. So if I just quickly come in here just to show that. From a universal device poller setting, we have custom polar thresholds. And if we go into SAM settings, so things like FortiGates, we're seeing more and more APIs being used, so web service APIs, and therefore using SAM is a likely one. So I'm just going to go into one of these. Let me just do Active Directory quickly. So in all of the SAM templates, against each of the individual components, so this is the application layer that we were referring to in the previous session, and the component is each of these individual monitors. And if I expand this, you will see that we have the ability to put those thresholds in place. So again, our alerting is going to be based that it is equal to critical. I don't need to put an alert definition that says this service, this service name here, DFS, has a value greater than 90. All I need to worry about is creating that component is equal to critical. All of these are then automatically going to be included. So whether you're doing that as a SAM collection or you've created a custom poller here. So here, for example, I could put a rule in here that I'm saying is greater than 500, is greater than 1000. Yeah, and again, my universal device poll alert only needs to worry about is the critical threshold been reached. Hopefully that answers that question. If not, we can come back later. So if I just go on to the next alert type. So this is an example of, actually what I'll do, I'll switch it up. We've just had a question related to hardware. So one of the other alerts that we could look at here is hardware health. So you can see again, we've got hardware components critical, warning or critical. Yeah, so we've changed this. We've got again our custom one. And so from this, if I just show you this entry, there are no filters at all on this. So any hardware sensor of the devices that you have, and some devices are going to have dozens of hardware sensors on them, temperature, power supply, fan, disk, all of those are going to be alerted on. Well, you don't want that. So we want to make sure we can manage that. So under settings, manage hardware settings, all of your hardware sensors are going to be listed. If, for example, you've got entries that are in a state where you can't control them. Yeah. In this example, we don't have on one of our servers a secondary power supply. So it's going to tell us there's a warning. I don't want that. I know that there's no power supply. It's a dev box. If it goes down, it goes down. We'll get a new power supply and carry on from there. It's not critical. So that's why. And so in that sense, I don't want to be alerted on it. I don't want it to be displayed. So just come in and disable it. And now you've got that level of control to prevent that alert being generated. Same on, I'm actually going to enable that because that's a genuine one. So same across all of these. Review the device, review the sensors that are there, identify if they are valid and they're genuine, and you're going to go and fix it. You're going to do something to reduce the temperature. You're going to replace the fan because it's not spinning. Power supply's failed. If you're going to go and fix it, good. If you're not and you don't care about that, then disable it. Immediately, that alert is then going to be controlled in terms of what will trigger it. Okay, so the one that I was going to show was an alert for one of the modules for Server Configuration Manager. This is very similar to Network Configuration Manager, where changes are being detected. And so some customers will have NCM alert me when a device configuration changes because they want to get visibility. In this example here with server configuration changes, changes are vast. You can see here in the last hour on the online demo, there have been dozens and dozens and dozens. So if I was to look here for, actually, let me just remove that and go down to server configuration. If this one here, which is normally enabled by default, server configuration has changed, is enabled, again, there is no filter on here. There's nothing to say control what you send out. Yeah. So it literally is, has it changed? Well, in this list here, every single line that you see here, 1, 2, 3, dozens of them, would have sent an alert. You don't want that. You want to understand what changes are occurring on your servers. Absolutely, that's the purpose of this. Change can be bad. Change can be a reason for faults and performance issues. So you absolutely want to get visibility of it, but they're not all going to be alert scenarios. So what we have in ours is just a very quick example of a filter. I've got a specific rule where maybe I'm running an e-commerce website. This is actually one of our demo environments. And so I'm saying, yeah, if it's changed, but only if it's a particular profile, or that it's an addition or a change or a combination thereof. We can be as granular in our ruling as we need to be. So from that, immediately, rather than getting dozens, if not hundreds and thousands of alerts coming out, now I'm going to be very specific just by coming in and adapting that rule. So this is an example of taking what is provided and adding to this. For example, here, you can see that I might want to come in here and say, I want to only base this. So I'm going to change this to node. So I'm only interested in configuration changes on devices where the device is a priority 1 device. Yeah, so I may have created that definition that sets a criticality using custom properties that immediately I've got a filter on this. Now, often this is used for things like node down. Yeah, if a P1 node goes down, create a ticket automatically, send an SMS, send a Teams message, turn a light on the top of the building, put a backlight up, whatever you need to do. That is appropriate for a P1 device going down or a particular config change occurring. Somebody needs to look at that as quickly as possible. Whereas if you are doing this for a P3 device, you may just log it to the event log. You may not do any external notification. Okay.
Quick question, Mark, on
Go.
this. One about maintenance windows. What do we do throughout maintenance periods?
Yeah, good question. So there's a number of things that you could do for that. So one of the most common ones for maintenance windows is things like reboot alerts. So let me go and find that. Node has rebooted. Yep, again, there's no filter on it. There's no definition. It will just literally be any time a device that's under management has been rebooted, an alert will be fired. So what we have in our example, and I think hopefully this will answer your question, so the person's question. So if it's not, please let me know. So we've got yeah, it's enabled. Is it serious? Well, probably not. It's more informational, but choose the condition. And then what we have in here is, again, a filter that says I'm only interested in if it's a P1 device. Yeah, what we've just had a look at actually. And we've got a rule here that I'm only interested in if it's during a working day. So that's right for us. What we often have with customers is that at Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m, a bunch of the estate is just on an automatic reboot cycle. It's just what they do every single week at 4 p.m. on a Sunday. And so we want to put a suitable schedule in here that says disable that alert every Sunday during that time. Yeah. So immediately you've got better control over that. Your reboot maintenance windows are controlled. And so you don't generate this alert, and you do generate it when you want it. The other quick thing actually around this may be the use of the maintenance scheduling in Orion. So I'm just going to go across to the manage nodes area. And so I can choose one or multiple devices, and I can place them in maintenance mode. Now I can do that as a schedule. So a best practice is as soon as you know that you're going to create a 2-hour maintenance window on the 5th of January, come in here and create that. So put that value in, 5th between this time and date. Yeah. Now we're in a position where we've got a maintenance window and we've got two options. Do we mute the alerts? So we capture data. We don't stop monitoring. We just don't send out any alerts that the device would generate in that circumstance. Or we just completely stop polling. Yeah, don't collect that data for that device during this window. Just to highlight this, I've done this manually. There are ways of automating this in manners of kind of if these are regular functions, for example. Hopefully that answers that question, Mick.
Yeah, wonderful. Just a question I had, another one that's popped up from David. This one is asking that there's not enough alerts. So there's no alerting out of the box based on SNMP traps received. That means many issues are missed before it's too late. They don't want to spend hours creating and alerting from scratch. They just want it to work. So any advice or recommendations here?
Yeah, so that is an area. So I did say at the beginning, SolarWinds are fantastic at providing a whole bunch of, not that screen, I want this screen, a whole bunch of alerts out of the box. Yeah, and they are great starting points. But David's right, in terms of SNMP traps, they are not out of the box. So depending on the module that you have, if you have the free version of the log functionality in Orion, you do have some limitations on the alerting that you can do. If you have the log analyzer function, so if I go to this screen here, and let me just come back. So here you can see that we've got our log viewer. I don't think in this demo platform we've got any log data being sent to it at the moment. Okay, just a few. So from this point of view, we could come in and we could say, okay, I want to have a look at this and I want to generate an alert off of it. Have a look at the settings, create our rules, and you can see here in terms of an example, we can generate an alert for it. Now this is very much based on the log data that's coming in. So obvious things like an interface has gone down. Well, you may be monitoring it via SNMP polling, but that may be up to a 2-minute cycle for its status. A syslog coming in is a real-time event, so you may want to generate an alert there. You may have kind of OSPF or router dynamic routing protocol changes occurring that you want to be alerted on, a whole bunch more. So SolarWinds don't provide those out of the box. We have a library of such alerts, but it is very much about putting those alerts in place. And you can see here that what we can do is generate an alert into Orion. So if we go back to our alerts area, so here, and you will see, let me change this. I can't remember which one this was on. What one was I doing there? I think that was just a training one. But yeah, certainly with regards to that, we can generate the alerts in there. So yeah, sorry, there is no out-of-the-box alerts for syslog and SMP traps.
Got it. One final question around ServiceNow integration. I know we do a lot with ServiceNow, but a question comes from Stuart. It appears that the integration is limited to just NPM and SAM modules. Is that correct, or
No,
is
no.
there more we can do with other modules talking to ServiceNow?
Yeah. So if I just edit, not that one because it doesn't matter. It's a core function. So whichever Orion module you have the ability to generate ServiceNow. So there is an action out of the box to create a ServiceNow incident. Now, SolarWinds out of the box provide automatic integration to ServiceNow, because it's so popular and common, as well as their own service desk application. But that's not to say that you can't create it for any other help desk platform. Every single one that we've ever worked with, we've been able to find a way of automatically generating a ticket in that platform. So to answer Stuart's question succinctly, nope, this is a common function across all Orion modules, not just SAM and NPM. But whether you're using ServiceNow, you could create a scripted approach. You could do a get or a post to a web server and send that JSON payload across. All of those options are available, whether you're improving what ServiceNow does or making it work in the way that you need it to, or integrating to another help desk platform. Any other questions?
There was one around, can we integrate with WebEx?
With WebEx, I'm trying to think what the use case situation would be. Do we have any more information? I'm just having a look.
David gave me, is there any integration with WebEx? It was a little, not much information.
I'm gonna just take that. David, if you've got time to post up a kind of follow-up to that, then please do. But so if I don't answer it, there is the capability in Orion, but we also have a solution that extends the alerting capabilities, certainly the modes of communication, called Everbridge. And so that solution has kind of this alert management and response capabilities around it. So whether it's the fact that you want to generate an incident and immediately get a conference call going, so in that circumstance, I'm thinking that might be something.
Yeah, so he's saying they currently integrate with Slack for alerting.
Oh, okay. So this isn't the WebEx for meeting. I was taking that in the realms of automatically create a WebEx room that people are invited to join to then start discussing and triaging the incident. So yes, that can be achieved. But yes, in terms of Slack, absolutely. I've shown an example for Teams, but we've done it for Slack. We've done it for Telegram. I can't remember some other ones that have been done. But essentially, all of those messaging platforms have APIs, and therefore we can integrate to them to automatically start a channel communication or a message structure. Okay, yeah, thanks, David. You confirmed that. Hopefully I've answered that question. Any other questions, mate? I think we're close to time.
We've pretty much covered everything. Stuart Dickoff was just saying that they don't have SAM, so he's more focused around NPM.
Yeah.
We can tackle that. But no, I think we've covered pretty much all the questions.
Okay, fabulous. Just because we do have a few more minutes left, one of the other ones of real interest for people is dealing with volumes. So again, from a volume point of view, we have a circumstance where not every volume is equal. Yeah, if you're monitoring a volume which is 500 megabytes in size compared to a volume which is 3 terabytes in size, the default alert that says alert me when less than 5% is available isn't accurate. It isn't valid. Nobody wants to be told that they've got only 5% left of a 3 terabyte drive. That's still a vast amount of storage capacity. So there are a number of ways. We've got here an enablement of how we used to do it. So how we used to do it was we used custom properties, and each volume would have a threshold assigned to it, and we could then utilize it. We had situations where we went for this kind of separated approach, where different volume sizes have different values. Well, as you can see here, if you're running Orion 2020.2 or later, this is now much easier to do, because you just edit a volume in the Manage Nodes area or on the volume detail page. And again, as I showed you in terms of the CPU, you have the ability to put your own, ignore that, you have your ability to put your own critical threshold value in. So one volume might be 98%, one volume might be 73%. Yeah, object level thresholds, the very first thing we started on. And the other thing that we've added to this is that I'm only interested in volume types that are fixed disk, i.e. C drive, D drive, E drive, not CD-ROMs, not memory volumes, not cache volumes, not network shares, fixed disks. So I'm just taking that moment because we'll see we have some extra time. I had a couple in my back pocket in case of this, to demonstrate, certainly with regards to volumes, is another common one that will over alert.
There's a quick question mark from Prakash. He's asking how to configure customer threshold for UCS health scores.
Right. Okay, so let me think this one through. So I'm just going to come across the online demo because we don't run UCS, and I don't think there's much in here for it either. Okay, so sorry, I saw Ron was putting another follow-up message in there. So just because we've only got a minute left, I'll answer this as quickly as I can. So if you're capturing UCS and monitoring environment, and one of those metrics is health status, then it's likely to be a SAM monitor or as part of the UCS default framework, which I believe in your situation it will be. So it's really just about identifying the area of that. So I'm going to be very quick. So forgive me here. Maybe something that if you want to follow up, we can do it offline.
Yeah.
But you've got here's UCS. So on this, you would go to the UCS entry. I'm going to press cancel on this, make sure I do, otherwise one of my team's going to be very upset. And under UCS chassis is going to be the health status. So you're going to create an alert where the health status is not equal to, this is my preference, to up, because all of the other values are now potentially going to be. Or I may create an or statement and put multiple rules where UCS status is equal to or is not equal to. Okay, hopefully that's answered that one. I know we're at the top of the hour, so I'll let you wrap up, Mick. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. We'll take any questions that we haven't answered offline. Thanks, Mark, for taking the time today. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for this session. We will be sharing the recording with you all so you can review and pass across your colleagues if required, and upload it to Facebook and YouTube and our website. Everyone have a lovely day. Thanks again for joining us. If you need us, please reach out, and our account managers will be in touch to follow up.
Thanks, everyone. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.